Few missions matter more than helping people live healthier, happier, and longer lives. But turning that mission into reality at scale is one of the greatest challenges of our time. In this podcast, I speak with the people who are taking that challenge head on, the health entrepreneurs who have dedicated their personal and professional lives to creating maximal impact, the true impact junkies. My name is Daniel. Join me as I uncover the stories behind the impact, the wins, the losses, the ups, and the downs, with the hope of inspiring many more people to join the mission and the health revolution. Today's guest on Impact Junkies is Bliss from Bliss Mode. And she is a person who always brings the energy. And we're gonna uncover a story of going from living on caffeine and a dream to running a large-scale enterprise. Welcome to Impact Junkies. We're live. Bliss, we're already vibing.
Yes.
Welcome to the studio.
Vibing all morning. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. Yeah, beyond you beating me horribly in
Not
ping pong.
horribly. Let's be honest.
It wasn't too
It was
bad.
barely, but I did win.
You did win. And you bring so much energy. I think that's been clear from the moment you stepped into the office. And I think that's something which a lot of people can attest to you and Bliss Mode as a whole. If we can zoom out just for a second and you can tell me, like, what do you think are some of the things that are core to what you do or what you deliver as a coach beyond that, or speak into that energy that you have?
Yeah. Like outside of like being energetic, what is like the core of Bliss? Oh, that's a great question. I think there's just passion, there's excitement, happiness. I think with a name like Bliss, like you, it would be kind of a bummer if I was a downer. But yeah, I just think that, I don't know, there's just an essence of joy that I like want to always exude, And if somebody's having a downer day, like, you can't have a downer day when you're hanging out with Bliss.
Day with Bliss Mode. And let me tell you something, you have made a difference for a lot of people, right? You've been coaching for just around 4 years now. And in that time, let me give you an interesting number here. If we took all of your clients back to back, right, and string them up on a long line, a timeline, you and your team have delivered 1,980 years of coaching.
Oh my
combined.
gosh. That's insane.
Yeah. And one thing which is clear, you spoke to me about, you love workouts and programming, and you get your clients moving.
Yeah.
So I have some numbers on that as well. Your clients have taken 3.5 billion steps within that time.
Oh my
3.5 billion. They have logged 420,000 activities in the app, right? That's 160,000 workouts, 110,000 walking, over 60,000 strength training sessions, and 22,000 in high-intensity interval workouts.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
To have happening. What do you think about when you hear those numbers?
You kind of forget how big the impact is, because a lot of times, like, you're having a conversation with one client or a couple clients, and you forget about the volume, It's just crazy. So those numbers, like, are insane to me. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around numbers that big, to be honest.
Definitely. I think it's an interesting perspective
cool.
to see, because sometimes you're zoomed in on maybe that single client and the change you're making. But this is change that compiles, right?
Yeah.
It's people moving. It's maybe spilling into their families moving.
Yes, that's
so that's a lot of impact at the end, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't just come to you, right? I mean, there's been a process, and we'll get into the grind years and the amount of work you've actually put in to get to the point that you're at now.
Yeah.
But is that a misconception that you sometimes hear? That it might be like, oh, you're at this point now, and you just post something and then you have a business. Is that something that you hear sometimes or not?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, since my following has continued to grow, they only get to see this version of me. And that's why, like, even on my story yesterday, I'm very passionate about still sharing the yuck that used to be there, and I want people to know that it hasn't always been like glitz and glam, and there's a lot, we'll get into it on this podcast, there's a lot of very hard learning movements, that I've had, so.
Hey guys, just a quick interruption from me because I have something to ask of you. If you enjoy these conversations, or maybe they even inspire you, please follow, subscribe, or rate the show wherever you're listening or watching. It would mean so much to me. And more importantly, it will help us bring even more impactful stories to more people. All right, let's get back to it. Maybe before we dive into your story, you can help me connect the dots on something, because
Yeah.
I've spoken to a couple of health entrepreneurs now, and it seems that there's a pattern where people talk about their early upbringing and what their environment taught them or
Yeah.
didn't teach them about movement, about nutrition, and all of these things. Like, is that something that resonates with you, or what
Very
are your
much
thoughts
so.
about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about
I
that.
feel like it has to resonate with everybody,
Mm,
right? That's kind of where you learn. They always say like you develop an understanding about everything by the time you're 7: money, relationships, food. And so growing up in Missouri,
mm,
which is, I call it the center of America, it's the heart of America. It's not fitness and
mm,
health minded. It's it's very family oriented. It was a beautiful place to grow up, but because it was the 90s and Missouri is not, again, revolving around health and fitness, kind of like where I live now, California.
yeah, okay.
California's very vain, but because they're vain, they love to focus on how they look. But I grew up understanding that the healthiest thing I could eat is buttered peas. I think that was the only vegetable I consumed
It's
probably my
green.
first 16 years of life. But yeah, drenched in butter and Caesar salads. And I watched my parents do every kind of fad, trendy diet under the sun, Slim Fast and Jenny Craig and putting the things on your body that shake the fat off.
Mm,
And they had no understanding, right? They had never grown up anything health and fitness related. So my understanding of the gym is where you go because you've eaten too much.
mm,
And there are all kinds of other mechanisms to help you lose weight. But I knew it was going to be a struggle because I watched my parents do these on and off again diets. And so that was what I believed health and fitness was,
mhm.
really.
So how did that shape you as a child? Did you so buttered peas and maybe not that much movement, but was there a point where you kind of thought that mm, beyond that you have to go to the gym to lose weight? Was there a point where you could see that okay, something has to change or it has to be a bit different? Or what was that?
Yeah, yeah. I was very lucky enough that as a child, I did not struggle with my weight. My parents worked a lot, so we lived off of fast food. So much so that the McDonald's people knew our names. We were the Lovealls. We'd pull up and they're like, the Lovealls are here. Like, that's bad when McDonald's knows who you are. But yeah, we grew up of fast food. I started to gain weight when I was about 15. You're starting high school, you're very shy and insecure. And that was really where my weight gain started. What was I would say a life-changing moment for me was I got to meet biological mom
Mm,
when I was 16, and she was a very, very big woman. And I remember we sat down at the table we're at this restaurant, and she said, "I looked just like you when I was your age." And it bothered me so much. It is a moment that we left the restaurant, we got in the car, and I just started bawling to my mom because I was already beginning to struggle with my weight. And I also understood that my life was probably going to look like how it looks for my parents, right? This constant on again, off again struggle. But her saying that really scared me, and it scared me so bad that I think that was the moment where the determination started, where I was like, I refuse to look like that, And so that was when it at least began in my brain of I'm going to really try to combat this as much as I can.
that's interesting. Well, like a pivotal moment. I hear
For
that
sure.
also where someone has said something that really stuck for better or worse, right? But something that's a catalyst. What was it actually that you were scared of? Because if that was your environment, and that I'm curious, like what did you see in your own future that you actually wanted to refuse?
Yeah. I think because my mom and dad, though they struggled with their weight, they were not obese.
Mm,
They were just like every normal overweight person in, where we were in Missouri. But for my biological grandmother, she was obese. And her saying that, I felt like she's spoken to me that this is going to be what it is for you. And I don't know. I think I can't really say at 16 what I understood what that was, but it just I don't know. I just refused to accept that as my future. I wouldn't say even refuse. I feared it so badly.
So there was an element of fear of
Yeah,
what the future could look like with that.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I just saw someone really struggling with life is really
Mhm.
probably what I saw.
Yeah.
So
So that's interesting. So you Did you take action from that moment?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah.
Although it was fear-based, which is interesting, right?
Yeah.
I think, there's like sometimes you differentiate between, external motivation and internal. And external is not always the most lasting thing, but
Right.
it can get you started.
Yeah.
But having a fear-based motivation to train is also a bit of a rough spot to be in.
Totally,
I
which
imagine.
is what led to such a bad outcome there for a little while.
How
But
so? Tell me about that.
so it started off innocent, where this is when I got into running. I would run and I would do sit-ups. It's the only thing that I knew how to do. I had no idea how to lift weights. I think I would probably use like the leg press and stuff like that, like machines that were a little self-explanatory, but it was mainly running and sit-ups and crunches and stuff like that, and eating a lot of Caesar salads and peanut butter and jellies because I thought that was also really healthy.
So where did you get inspiration from? Because you decided to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So running and sit-ups were kind of the go-to, but where did you gather, where did you find that information from that these are the go-tos if you want to lose weight?
Yeah. Well, at the time, I remember my best friend and I we'd buy like the health magazines because this is before social media. I mean, you had Facebook, but there was no information back then.
It wasn't, people were posting different stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I remember we'd buy health magazines, and that would be the only place that I would get any information. And I'm looking at fitness models, right? And back then they'd post like, oh, do these 3 ab exercises for sculpted abs. So then I would like try them. But I just knew, okay, running is what will burn calories. I think I also saw my parents kind of doing that too. Like they would do these short intervals of where they'd go into the gym and do cardio. So yeah, I just knew movement was what I needed to do. Since that's the only movement that I could wrap my mind around, that's what I did.
Well, you said that kind of fear-based start led you down a bit of a wrong path. How so?
Yeah, so that's where it started, the running and the crunches. Then I got into group fitness classes. They were doing like step and Zumba and all kinds of things, right? And so now I had some direction as to like somebody's leading me and teaching me all kinds of things. And that's really where I bit the bug that, oh my gosh, I love how I feel. I love how I'm looking. I'm starting to lose weight. And then I moved to Hawaii. And this is really where I started to get so much outward validation from people about how I looked. And it was the first time I had ever had that, really. And so it was exciting for me. So I began to be what I would call addicted to not only the validation, but the continual experience of getting on the scale and the scale going down.
So that kind of became the motivation.
Yeah.
I guess moving to Hawaii from Missouri is quite a change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And maybe just a more active one as well. Tell me
Very
about
much
that change and
Very
the
much
shift.
so.
What drove you to make that change?
Yeah. Hawaii's warm. Missouri is not. And I am addicted to warm weather. I was young. I had just turned 19. It was just one of those things that it's an opportunity that I was very excited about. So, and also too, that was my first exposure with really being an adult, being on my own, and a very different dynamic than Missouri. So, yeah.
For sure. All right. So you're in Hawaii now. You're more active. But you're kind of focused on the weight and you're running. And tell me about what your routine and regime and that looked like at that time.
Yeah. I still wasn't doing any resistance training. It still was running, but now I'm in Hawaii. So freaking running by the beach, like what a vibe. Yeah. And so my runs got longer and longer, more so like I was just loving it, enjoying it. But also too, I was chasing this, I kept having a number in my head. So I was about 125 pounds when I moved to Hawaii. And I kept having it 5 pounds lower. If I got 5 pounds lower, I would feel really good, and I'd finally see what other people were seeing, and I was getting the validation, but I still didn't have it in myself yet that like, you look good. I was waiting for that moment. And so it became a game of I'm going to move more, eat less, move more, eat less. And in that, I mean, I was getting up to where I was running 8 to 10 miles, and I would...
A day or what?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Which again, I still loved. I had a very active dog that I would run with. But my nutrition was, I have pictures where I just found on Facebook when I was kind of digging around for the past, where I had a can of tuna with a side of vegetables, and I took a picture of it and I posted like, here's my lunch. Like that was what I thought. I was the healthiest person on the planet. And as I got thinner and thinner, people started to give a little less praise and give a little bit more concern of like, you're really thin, you should eat something. And I just thought like, man, nobody's as motivated as I am.
They
like,
just didn't get it.
You don't get it. You're not into the fitness like I am. So, or like, I had this thought like, oh, they can't do it themselves. So like, of course they're going to like, try to bring me down, because I still would look in the mirror with absolute delusion of like, I have more weight to lose, And so the realization of where I finally felt like maybe I have a problem was I was at the gym. I was on the Stairmaster where I spent a lot of time. And at this point I'm doing 2 sessions a day of I'm either running in the morning and Stairmaster at night, or I did Insanity. Do you know what Insanity is?
What's Insanity?
Insanity was like, it was a big thing in the early 2000s. It was a workout video, but it was like 45 minutes of crazy high intensity that I would sometimes do in my living room, right? You're jumping, you're doing these little crazy things,
Insanity.
Right? It's called Insanity, yeah. And I would do that, or I would do the Stairmaster, just cardio, right? But I was on the Stairmaster, and there was this girl in the gym that I was like, oh, she just has the best body. And I wanted to look like her, right? I was like, oh, when I look like her, like I'll feel good. At this point, I think I'm like 105 pounds. Very small.
That's nothing, yeah.
Very small. And we had this big digital scale in the gym, and I saw that she was walking towards it, and like a total psycho, I was like, I'm going to get off. I'm going to get behind her. I'm going to see what she weighs. And when I know what she weighs, I know what my goal is going to be.
And you have a new goal.
I have a new goal. So I go up behind her. She's 120 something pounds. And I stand there and I look at the scale, and I just felt really defeated. I didn't in that moment feel like, I have a problem. I remember being sad of like, dang, like what is my issue? Like why can't I look good if I weigh less than she does? So yeah, I wouldn't even say that was like a come to Jesus moment of like, you got a problem mentally. I more was just like bummed.
But and maybe some kind of awareness that something had to change.
Yeah.
Beyond just keeping on having a goal of losing 5 pounds and losing 5 pounds.
Yeah. I still continued to lose weight like a crazy person because I got down to 98 pounds, which was my lowest. Yeah.
Blow over in a storm in Hawaii.
Thank God Hawaii was chill because, I would have. But, yeah.
So you're still doing group fitness. At what point there do you get into like training? What are you working with at that point? Because are you training others at that time?
No.
Now you're just doing your own thing and keeping on losing weight.
Yeah.
When does that change for you?
Yeah. So around that time that I got to my lowest weight, I then began working at the police station. And so this is when, everyone was like, what do you do for your workouts and stuff? And
colleagues at work? Or?
Colleagues at work, all the girls, right? Because, it was an office job. So like any office job, there's just tons of sweets. There's constantly, it's somebody's birthday or whatever. And so everybody always ate really, really bad. And I, was like, I refuse. I will not eat that. I'd bring my tilapia and asparagus every day and just sit there and eat it so proudly.
Yeah.
But a couple of the girls had said, like, you should train us because there was a gym upstairs and they were like 2 days a week, like run us through a workout. And it became my favorite thing.
It was the highlight of the week.
Yes. I would lay in bed. 12, 13 years later, I still lay in bed and think about workouts, but I would like be so excited of like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait till Tuesday when I can train them again. It was so fun for me. Had no idea what I was doing. I was not certified whatsoever.
Not at that time, at least. Yeah.
No, not then. But I was just like, I loved it. And so I then went online and got my certification. And I still was working at the police station. It was a government job. It was really safe. You can never get fired from a government job.
So it was a good break. It was a good thing you'd landed there.
It was a very good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very, very secure. But yeah, I thought like, I wonder if I could train people as like a job, because I was just doing it for them for free because it was fun for me.
Right.
But this is also all at the same time when I began to struggle with my weight. So all of this is kind of correlated and together.
Struggle in which way?
Struggling in the opposite way now.
Mm.
So because I had spent so many years restricting my eating, probably I would say there was probably a lot of days where I was eating less than 1,000 calories a day. I didn't track back then, but just based off of the photos I was posting, we're probably talking 600 to 800 calories a day. So because of that, I then began to develop a binge eating disorder, which I had never heard of a binge eating disorder. At this time, Instagram is still just photos. And so where I was posting like all my, flexing, there's just like a bone here. But yeah, I had no information about what an eating disorder was. But what I saw was that every day after work, I would be undisciplined with my eating and I would just eat a bunch of food as fast as I could. And it was a complete like clockwork routine of I've had my protein and spinach, just plain spinach for breakfast, like a weirdo.
Very uninspiring.
Yeah. Ugh. Tilapia and asparagus for lunch. And then I would come home and I would just eat. I mean, I would eat 4 Quest bars at a sitting. I would make a big bowl of like granola cereal with peanut butter all over it and just
go all in. There's a lot going on in this time then, right? So there's a seed that's kind of been sowed about helping others and creating a bit of change, maybe wanting to work as a trainer while struggling by yourself or on your own with binge eating and potentially also overtraining and all of these things.
Yes, for sure. So, that was happening like behind closed doors. Obviously, didn't tell anybody about it. And again, I didn't see it as like, this is a bad issue that I have with food. I have a really bad relationship with food. Didn't know any of that lingo. I more so was frustrated that like I had this lack of discipline each day of like coming home and just eating a ton of food. But because that consistently continued to happen, in about 14 months, I went from 98 pounds to 168 pounds. Was the heaviest that I ever weighed myself. And so that was a big fluctuation in my weight. And there was so many tears. At one point, it got to where my only work pants that fit ripped. And this is literally ripped. And this is another like pivotal moment of just like when my biological grandma talked to me at breakfast. Very pivotal moment was I remember my pants ripping. They were the last pair of pants that fit. And I sat on the corner of my bed and just wept because I was so frustrated. Like I do so much. I still was going to the gym like twice a day, running. And at this point I was lifting a little bit of weights. I was figuring out like, okay, I need to resistance train.
Well, you'd gotten certified at this point, right? So
I had gotten certified. Yep. I saw a girl do 2 pull-ups in the gym and I was like, I want to be strong. I want to do pull-ups. So there was like this other aspect of fitness where I was wanting to better myself as like fitness and not just punish myself for food that I'd consumed. But there was still it was so much the latter. I still saw exercise as a form of punishment for food that you ate. But anyway, there's so many facets that are happening. But yeah, that moment was very, very frustrating for me. And that is, I would say, where I developed the mentality of my genetics are forcing me to be like my grandma. It's inevitable. I'm going to be somebody who's overweight no matter what, because I still hadn't like clicked in my brain. I like, you're eating too much food because you binge, because 90% of my day was perfect, right? There's all these things, movement and healthy food. But then I just had this tiny little pocket of probably 15 to 20 minutes that was causing this huge fluctuation.
So again, back to one of those moments where you're kind of looking into the crystal ball, looking into the future, and this is what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Not positive necessarily. But what did you do with that then?
I wish I could say that was a moment of where I like really pulled up my boots and said, I'm going to figure this out. But there was just a moment of defeat. And so I actually decided, okay, I'm done trying to be smaller. I'm going to gain weight. I'm gaining weight every single week. And all my friends, at the time I was 22 years old, all my friends were drinking and having fun and going to concerts. And I felt like there was just so many things in life that I wasn't experiencing because I was so dedicated to the gym and I was so stressed out about calories and all of these things that I actually said, screw it. Like, if I'm going to be fat, I'm at least going to have fun and be fat, you know? Like, I'm not having any fun. And so because of that, my binge eating actually stopped because I began to just eat food that I wanted to. I had a burger, I would have fries. And because there was not this crazy restriction that I put on myself, and I was like done eating tuna and vegetables for lunch, unknowingly, that actually stopped my binge eating. And so because of that, I actually lost about 15 pounds just from no longer binging.
Interesting.
You
So
know?
you stopped placing so much focus on the weight and the restrictive dieting, and it kind of helped you out.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And moving more into training, or just
Yes.
because now you have your certification and you're kind of feeling different.
Yeah.
And so is that when you started training people?
That is when I started training. So
Where?
So I moved home to Missouri
Mhm.
because I was quitting this very secure, cushy job, and I needed a little bit of stability. So I moved in with my sister, and I began working at a gym, making pennies on the dollar.
How much did you make?
I was making $12 an hour, and you only got paid to while you were training a client. So I could be at the gym for 8 hours, but if I, had a client at 6 a.m. and then didn't have another client till noon, sometimes I would just stay there because it didn't make sense for me to drive all the way home, come all the way back for one session. So I just spent a lot of time there.
And it's a classic challenge. I mean, for people who work in the physical space, right? It's like you're your own. First of all, you are your own bottleneck to how much you can scale, right? Because I mean, you only have so many hours in a day, and you have that time in between where it doesn't make sense to transport yourself home. There's gaps, and then suddenly even a whole day's work is not a lot financially, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But it seems like you still had a calling there, right? Because you had a government job before, you had a desk job, you could have gone in that direction, but you chose not to.
Yeah.
I mean, you chose to get back to the gym, and what did that environment give you, and why were you called to that?
I loved fitness. Even though I couldn't really figure it out for myself yet, I loved training people. And just like those girls that I was training in the morning,
Right.
as I was struggling with gaining weight, it still was the highlight of my week, right? And so there was just like kind of this moment of like, I don't really care if I don't make very much money. I just want to see if I can do this. And gosh, once I started, I went all in. Like, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
You know?
It ignited a passion in you, I guess.
Getting that first client. My first client, her name was Carla, and she purchased like 20 sessions from me. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you trust me to train you 20 times? Like, okay, like, let's do this. And I wish I had my workouts from back then of like what I put her through, because again, my knowledge, I knew probably 1% more than Carla did when it came to movement. I didn't have a lot of knowledge, but I was so excited. Like, just how I walked in here today was how I walked into the gym then. I was like ready. I was pumped. And so people were purchasing from me, not from like that I'm this crazy whiz who knows a lot. I was just really excited to get them excited to move their bodies.
That's also validation, right? I mean, that's very positive validation.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, it was the highlight of your day to
Yeah.
train others. But in that situation, you also become the highlight of other people's day.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting dynamic, right? Is that something that also fueled you a bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then I moved to California. So I was home for 6 months in Missouri, trained there. Definitely got my feet wet with training. And so then I moved to California and continued to do like just one-on-one training out of like a box gym. And I loved it. It was so nice. Like, it's such an intimate relationship you develop with your clients. But then I got into group fitness, and oh man, like, I thrived. I felt like I had found my calling of like, this is what I'm meant to do. And that validation that I experienced in Hawaii, right, where people are, making me feel just like really good. Like, okay, I know what I'm doing. That 10x when you went to group fitness, because now you have a room of 30 people who see you in this role of like, this is somebody who brings me joy, who pushes me. She knows what she's talking about. So it really
And I guess it seems like you found something that you were good at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Was that an important step in this?
It was. And I didn't realize that I needed that. I had never been good at really much of anything. I was a social butterfly, but I struggled academically in school. I was, all my siblings were like, straight A students. That was not me.
Mm.
I was at school to have a good time with my friends. I also was not athletic at all. Like it was never a sport that I thrived in. I didn't make half of the sports I tried out for. So I did not realize that I had never been really good at anything besides being social and having relationships. And so it's basically, it took the one thing that I was good at, which was, connecting with people. And it kind of put it on a platform of like, you can do this and make money. And it was cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how is that going for you? Because now you've moved.
I've
right?
moved.
And you have to make ends meet yourself.
Yeah.
You're making $12 an hour and then some group fitness. Tell me about that whole situation there.
California is expensive. So I was doing group fitness. At this point I'm making like $15 an hour, which, was not so great because Missouri was cheap. So $12 an hour was even more than $15 an hour in California, which was
right.
less.
Gotcha.
So at night I would serve tables, which is really where I made my money. And so that job supported my passion, which was getting to train. But doing both was gnarly because we're talking early mornings for training, late nights for serving.
So you had the other job just to be able to still coach people because you weren't tell me what a week looked like there. Sounds like a grind.
Yeah, it was a grind. So I only served Thursdays through Sundays because that's pretty much when everyone was eating out. It's when you make the most bang for your buck. So Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, I worked both shifts at the gym, morning and evening, and it was the best.
And this is group fitness, so it's probably quite early.
This is group fitness. Yeah, our first class at this time was 5 a.m. This is before I went to the other gym that had a much earlier class. But I would work like 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m., go home, nap, run my dogs, come back 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m., So that's kind of like what my typical day looked like. But when I was serving, I would coach in the mornings, and then I'd go in the evenings at like 5 p.m. and be there till like 10, 11 p.m., set an alarm, get up early, and go back to the gym. But the weekends were tough because sometimes I would work on a Friday night till like 2 a.m. because it was also a bar. And so there was a couple of times of where I took my coaching clothes and left them in the car, and I would leave the restaurant at 2 o'clock in the morning. I would drive to the gym because I had a 5 a.m. class, take a little nap, and then wake up and
do it
shoot
again.
some caffeine and let's go.
Just living on caffeine and a dream.
Caffeine and a dream, baby.
To train people.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a grind. Do you look back on those days as like, because you said you had the other job to be able to still train people and have an impact there. I mean, but you learned a lot, I'm sure. You learned about work because it seems like those were some years or at least a period where you really put some effort into it, right? What did you learn from that time?
I do love that it taught me the grind of like what the human body is capable of doing is crazy. And it's somewhat shocking to me that I was okay for living that schedule for so long that I didn't have a moment of where like, I can just go get a 9 to 5 and really have a life. But again, the high that I would get from coaching a class was so much more worth the exhaustion that schedule brought on that I wasn't looking anywhere else. I had blinders on for like, I really pinched myself. Like, I can't believe I get to do this for a job, It's
amazing that you seem so happy and content with that premise, even though you're probably not making all that much at that time, but you're just fueled by the passion to train others and help others there. But did you continue along that? What happened then?
Yeah. So, this is the gym where we had the car issue. So because
which car issue?
So because I was so broke at this time, I wasn't making my car payment, which was not very much money, but I did not realize that if you get so behind on your car payment, they come take your car away.
Oh boy.
And so I was a few months behind, but I was trying not to ask my parents for money. I was still trying to like, I can figure this out, you know? And so I'm coaching a class. My car's parked right out front of the gym. It's like a wall of windows, and there's my car. And I see that the tow truck has come, and they're, you know, hooking my car up.
In the middle of a class.
In the middle of a class. Like,
Right. Shit.
worst nightmare. And so I, of course, run out there, and I'm like begging this guy not to take my car because I was like, oh, I'll get it paid. Like, please don't take it. I'm crying. The whole class has followed me outside. They're just watching this happen. And, you know, the poor guy was like, I'm so sorry. And he took my car. And it was, I mean, that's what I would consider for sure my rock bottom.
That was your rock bottom.
moment.
It's quite a moment having your car is being towed. You're basically, you know, begging this guy and explain, and everyone from the class that's watching knows it's because you're basically broke.
Yeah.
Right. So it's quite an exposing
Yeah.
moment to be in. Tell me about that rock bottom. I mean, how did you experience it?
Yeah. I think as a coach, you spend so much time never letting anybody see like your personal life. You know, I always saw like the coaching floor as a stage, and this persona that you bring on of like, doesn't matter how tired you are, it doesn't matter what's going on in your personal life. This is just your moment to shine, and you fake it till you make it. And so much of that was going on that for people to see what's quite possibly the most embarrassing thing, you know, in your personal life, that I have no money, that I haven't been paying my little clown car payment. You know, it was a tiny little red car. So yeah, it was incredibly humiliating, embarrassing, defeating. I mean, every emotion you can think of, you know, of exposure in a bad way.
Right. You mentioned something interesting there, because I mean, I've spent my hours on the gym floor as well, and so has my wife. And we have this saying, which is like, put on the hat, right? I think that everyone who's worked that job knows what that means.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of like you're on the stage, you're the highlight of people's day.
Yes.
Right? There is no room to kind of show up with all your own feelings. You just get up there and execute. Is that something that, you know, you feel that that's kind of part of your toolbox now?
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah,
And
you
how do
have to
use
be
that?
that way with social media. Doesn't matter what's going on, like content's got to go out, marketing has to be done. And so, or even like video messaging with clients, you know, I can be having a really tough day or whatever it is, but like I always tell my coaches, like when you press record, coach comes on. Like it doesn't matter what else has happened, but you need to really create this coach persona, if that's what helps you, of like, this is an alter ego, a different person, so that you can embody this authority and confidence, and even if it's not there, you know.
Do you feel that it comes at a cost of some kind?
I think any kind of inauthentic moment can come at a cost, you know. I think that a good amount of it can be healthy, but I think too much of it can, like for social media, you know, I think about there's a lot of times that I feel that I have to show up and be inauthentic because I don't want people to know what I'm going through. I'm not ready to share. So yeah, I think that there's a little bit of good and bad, you know?
At least not in that moment, right? Because I guess at some point there can come a release when you're ready to share, and then those sides can come through. But there'll still be those moments we have to play the part and put on the role.
It's harder to show the dark stuff when you're in it. It's so much better to be like, oh, this is where I was, but I'm no longer. It's really tough to just be like, this is what I'm going through right now, you know? It's hard.
Oh, that's interesting. But leveraging the toolbox that comes from that gym floor.
Yeah.
So, because I guess after enough practice, it comes naturally.
It does.
Right?
Yeah. The alter ego comes in.
So you're in the parking lot. You have a whole class behind you. Everyone knows you're broke. Your car's being towed.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, how much? You don't have $1 to your name at this point, I guess, right?
No, I did not. So, you know, I had to borrow money from my parents to get my car out of towing, because that was like a couple $100s in itself. And then I had to make up all those payments before I could even get my car. So yeah, talk about just, you know, that was I think a moment where my parents were like, I think you should do something else. You know, they want me to have stability. And I'm in my mid-20s at this point, and people would also call personal training not a real job. I remember when people would say, like, when are you going to get a real job? Or they would always kind of say that it wasn't a real job. And I'm like, man, it takes the same amount of energy and it has a paycheck and all the things, but it always was not.
And probably a lack of, I guess, appreciation of the change that you're actually creating there. Because it's clear for you.
Yeah.
With clients and on the floor and all that, but not necessarily for others that aren't in that. I think it's something people hear a lot.
Yeah.
Whether it's working in person or getting into an online space. It's like, shouldn't you get a real job? Or
Totally.
I think that's also a lot of what we talk about here. It's like no one can kind of contest the idea that you have a real job.
Right.
At this point.
And a lot of people don't stay in it.
Yeah.
Like they do it in their young 20s and then they do go get a real job.
What do you think?
I think that it takes a lot to make it, like any industry, you can get chewed up and spit out and you're tired and you're broke and you're like, yeah, this is not worth it to me. I would rather go have something that is a little bit more comfortable. And I think that a lot of people reach that point of they're like, I'm 25 now, I need to get a little more serious about my future. But again, I was living on caffeine and dream and delusion, so I kept going.
Well, not utter delusion, but I think it's a good point that you make. I mean, what we can see is in the industry, people within, whether it's in the physical or in an online space, usually don't make it for very long, probably just 2 to 3 years, unless they have the support system which is needed, because there's so many bottlenecks that can basically turn the key on your business, right? Or put you in a situation where your car gets towed.
Yeah.
Right? But you decide to carry on and push on
Carry
through.
on. Yep.
Okay, so how did you do that?
Well, I ended up going to a different gym because they offered me more money hourly. And it was, $30 an hour, which was double what I was making.
Double up.
Yeah.
100% in raise. I'll take it.
Pumped. I was pumped. And I actually
so you feel
quit.
You're living it up now.
Yeah. I actually quit serving at that point because they were like, you'll make enough money here. Because you could also like train people and coach classes at this gym. It was very big. So they basically were like, you don't have to be a server anymore. You can just do training. And that was the dream.
Right. So you carried on and you got more of what fueled you.
Yes.
When is this? When are we talking about age?
This is 2018 when I went to that gym. Yeah.
We're getting close to a COVID start as well.
We're getting close. Yeah. Yep. So, summer of 2018. My car got repossessed in March of 2018. I moved to this other gym in June. And it was incredible. I got to do what I loved all day, every day. Their first class was at 4:15 in the morning, so I had to be there at 3:30 in the morning to set up.
So still back on the grind.
We're early days, and but I loved it. It was a very good time, but it did still catch up to me that I survived for a while, but then we had a new owner come in. They cut our pay down, and so I lost a good chunk of pay. And this is in 2019, like summer. And so then I began to struggle financially again. And I was really debating, like, gosh, do I go back to waiting tables? It was like this very hard dynamic, but I loved getting to just train. It was amazing. But January of 2020 came and I was very broke. My credit card was fully maxed out. I was making the minimum payments just on the interest. I was struggling, and I really had decided, okay, I think that it's time to do something different. I at least knew that I needed to go back to serving tables, but I really was, at this time, I'm 28 years old. I'm like, I think that, I need to like hang my hat almost. But then, as we all know, March of 2020, I was actually applying at a bunch of restaurants in February and March. Nobody was hiring. I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, how can I not get a server job? But then COVID happened. The lockdowns happened. I had a couple of dumbbells in my garage. And so people were hitting me up. And I was like, come to the garage. Let's move your bodies completely for free. And it was also so nice to see people,
Yeah.
And so people would come. I'd just like back at the police station, I'm getting to do what I really love to do, get people to move.
So it's one of those it's a pivotal moment. Again, I mean, circumstance. You were just about to, throw the towel in the ring, right? But circumstance, which was usually or overall a negative one, put you back in a spot where you could do what you were passionate about.
Yep.
So people came to you out of your garage and you were training them there?
Yep. I was training them out of my garage. And then it kind of grew. And I was like, all right, I kind of need to start charging people something. I'm doing this a lot. So I did. I started charging people to come. And then it was like I had a fully packed day of clients and group classes all out of my garage. And California was closed for a long time. So our gym did not open back up till the very end of May. But when they opened back up, I said, I'm never coming back.
Right.
I now have this full system running out of my garage. I was a little bit nervous with gyms opening back up. Like, could I keep all these clients? Which I didn't keep all of them. But I kept enough that I could live. I was making more than I had ever made in training. And I got to be home. You know, my dogs could be next to me while I trained people.
And suddenly you've created something of your own.
I had my own.
How important was that to you?
That was, the gym that I was at before COVID, the new owner that came in, cut our pay, he would verbally and emotionally break me down where I would cry all the time. And Mondays were my one-on-one meeting with him, and I had so much dread all week for that because he would sit me down and just tell me how terrible of a job I was doing.
Why?
Because I wasn't making these crazy sales in personal training because I was so tired. I felt like I had the capacity to take on even more. And so just to hear every single Monday, like, you're doing a terrible job. I'm very much a words of affirmation person. Like, you give me a compliment, I'll freaking shine, and you give me a negative feedback. It's going to really, it doesn't motivate me. It just kind of like wears me down. So I think finally having that gone and getting just the confirmation of like, I know what I'm doing a good job, I'm changing people's lives, I really began to love training again, So, yeah, having my own thing was very important
Quite
for
a
that.
confidence boost as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something special to be able to create something.
Yeah.
And especially when people come for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Bliss Mode.
Yeah, for Bliss Mode. So you kept on along that path, right?
Yeah.
I guess, and expanded from what are the next steps to building more of Bliss Mode then?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. 2020 was such a learning curve. I got into direct sales. I was doing supplementation, selling supplements online on social media. And I mean, anything online during that time. I wish I would have went online coaching in 2020.
That would have been the time. Well, it was the start of your journey,
I
but
know.
still. Because people were buying a lot online at that time.
Yes.
It had started
you could sell dirt online. It was crazy. But yeah, I was doing that. I was doing my garage training. And so I was as happy as could be. Like nothing, I had never been happier, Not only was I doing what I loved for myself all the time, but I was making more money than I ever had. And I was like, I felt rich because I wasn't, but I felt like I was.
You could make ends meet.
I could pay my bills. Yeah. I'm doing what I love. And that's all I could ask for,
So this is kind of your move into doing something online. You're doing direct sales, you're doing online sales with supplements, and you're coaching people. So what's the next evolution into online coaching?
Yeah. So my friend reached out to me about supplements. She wanted to talk about the supplements that I'm selling. And she worked for Lenus. I did not know that. I had never heard of Lenus yet. And I always joke that like she conned me into becoming an online coach. She
said what she needed to get you into the
bait
meeting.
And switch, yeah. She got me on a Zoom call. I'm ready to sell her on some supplements. And somehow she sold me on online coaching.
Right.
So Lenus at the time was very new. This was January, I believe, of 2022. It's pretty new to the U.S. Right. And so I had such low expectations. I honestly, again, I was very content on what I was doing. I didn't really feel like I needed more money, but it was kind of like I always consider myself a yes man. I'll always say yes to anything. And so I really said yes because she's my friend. She's pitching me this, saying it'll be great, and I was like, whatever. If I can make an extra $500, why not?
500.
Yeah,
Again,
that
that's
was
perspective, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I asked her. I'm like, could I make $500? She's like, yeah,
we can do
you
that.
can.
You can make $500.
So yeah, I was like, sure.
Okay, so you're all in, but I guess still without a sense of perspective of what this could actually be.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. I kept calling it Lenus, like, oh, I'll do Lenus work, and she's like, it's not Lenus, it's Bliss Mode. Like,
right.
You're building your brand, and I'd be like, oh, I'll do Lenus stuff, tomorrow, and she's like, no, it's Bliss Mode. So I really didn't understand the partnership, what it entailed, what it even meant.
And that you were still building something of your own.
Yeah.
I mean, I think despite having, it's like with anything, you're basically a founder of Bliss Mode, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting even more support to help that grow, but it's still Bliss Mode, right?
It wasn't clicking yet.
No.
Yeah.
When did that click actually?
Probably, I mean, my conversations with my cam, she kept trying to like make me understand what this was. And, I think that it clicked more so after I initially quit, which we can kind of get into.
All right, let's get into that after.
Yeah.
I just want to hear about your start with online coaching and that
Yeah.
experience, because I think as far as I've seen, you had a pretty good start.
I
at
did.
It, right?
We
so
launched.
What did that look like?
People were signing up and I wasn't ready for it. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do with these clients? They're signing up for my programming. At the time, I really had no social media presence either. And so I was shocked that like day one, we had like 20 clients who were like, I'll sign up.
Day one, 20 clients?
Yeah.
So how many did you get to within first month, do you think?
I know the first like 6 weeks, we were at like 50 clients. And I was like, holy crap. Like, all right. I'm like, I'm still like learning the dashboard. I really, again, my expectations were low. So I really didn't put too much work into like getting launched and all of that stuff. Cause I'm like,
Because what did you think online coaching really was at that time?
Before I started, I was thinking when I had signed up to partner with Lenus, I thought it was going to be like Zoom calls, and so that was like my understanding of like, oh, they'll get workout videos, and then I'm like Zooming with people, and again, I just said yes, and I was kind of figuring it out as I went and figuring out how to upload workouts and all of this stuff, and. Yeah, I was loving it though. I was like, okay, this is fun. I still was calling it Lenus, but I'm like, this is fun. I like what I'm doing. But then I got only a few months in. So it was May of 2022. I'd only been doing this for 4 months at this time. And I got a client who was also a coach. And so, she came in, I sent her the programming, I'm welcoming her. And she sent me a message and said, this is an absolute joke. I'm a trainer myself. Your programming is basically trash. And I think there was an insecurity in me already of like, can I be an online coach? Like, can the persona that is Bliss Mode and the energy and the excitement, can people feel that online? I really felt like, I don't know if this is transferable. It could never be what it is in person. So I already had that in the back of my mind. And then when she sent that, it was such a blow, and I think that, I don't know why it devastated me so much. I'd been a trainer for quite a while at this point, and I was very established, but I felt so exposed, kind of like with the whole car thing. Like, she struck a chord with an insecurity, and I just stopped. I was like, nope, this is not meant for me. These poor clients who were in my program did not hear from me again.
Oh, boy.
I just totally...
So you actually You just
never
quit,
logged back in.
right? And you're still only just gaining experiences at that
Yeah.
point. What a rough spot.
Yeah.
But I think it's like it's an interesting point because it is a matter of putting yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
to strangers.
to strangers, and there is some risk, and especially if there's doubt, of whether or not you can do it, and am I capable of this?
Totally.
Right? Because you've gotten to a point where you've built something yourself. But this is kind of a next step.
Yeah.
So that kind of pushed you over the edge, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, nope, I have to be in person. I can't do online. So.
But tell me about that, because I guess, clearly you got back in, and I'd like to hear that. But I'm just curious about those what you've learned along the way, because I think that can be a bit of a struggle for people who are so used to coaching someone in person, having that both validation and
Yeah.
also you can see it real
Yes.
time, and questioning what's actually transferable into online,
Yeah.
which there are a lot of things that are, but I'm curious about hearing your perspective. Like, what did you learn about that contradiction there?
In that moment, I learned that I have a huge insecurity about something new, for sure, and how different it is. And so I don't think that I realized how much doubt I had in my capabilities of doing online coaching. And I was so established in in-person training that I felt like, just like I had said earlier, I found something that I'm good at. And I didn't want to sway from that. Like, this is what I know. This is what I'm good at. If I do something else, I'm going to fail. It's going to crash and burn. This girl says I'm not good.
And
She
that
must
little
be
validation
right.
she gave was like,
Yeah.
it confirmed it kind of.
Yeah.
Without
Of
actually
like,
confirming
you need to stay
it.
what you're good at. You know this. You need to stay here.
Mhm.
So that was what my fear was telling me, for sure.
But you didn't stay there. So what changed?
So my Cam, who again, she knew me in real life, she talked with my best friend as to like, how can I motivate Bliss? Like, what am I gonna do? Because Lenus was kind of like, she either needs to get back in it or we gotta part ways because this is not working. And so he told her like she thrives off of positive encouragement, because my Cam at the time was like, get in there, you need to do this, like, kind of like my old boss, and
Which didn't work, right?
which didn't work. And so it was just shutting me down more of like, oh, I'm doing such a bad job. Like, I just don't want to log back in because, it's all, I'm not doing good at this. But he basically told her like, you have to give her some encouragement and that will light a fire. And so she got on the phone with me. I did not know she talked to my best friend, and she was totally different. She was so positive and so encouraging. And she told me to come up to the office. And so I drove up there, and this was my first time in the office, and everybody in Lenus was so welcoming, so positive. And I sat down with her and somebody else, and they basically cast vision as to what this could be. And they were taking all of the things that I knew I was good at and basically showing me like, this can all be here, So I just think I needed that encouragement and just hearing what other people were doing online too, and how big this could be. That was a pivotal moment for me, where I left the office that day and I never looked back, and the business took off after that. Yeah.
Two important learnings. As far as I can hear, there's one part of that which is perspective, right? Because going from just understanding that you can go from making a couple of $1,000s to something which is quite different. But I think the other point, which is very important to you, is that it could be a bliss mode thing.
Yes. That's when it became bliss mode.
Right. Okay. Tell me about that. Explain that. Connecting those dots and realizing that, okay, this can be my thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In that room when they were showing me what Lenus does, like, this is really where I began to understand the partnership, and that they're taking whatever it is that is bliss mode, and they're just showing you how to take this online and how to go bigger. In person can only go so big. My garage is only so big. It's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so many people in the little pocket of San Diego that I live in that I can influence. And so they basically just zoomed me out and said, we're going to take this little pod that you've created and we're going to go worldwide, baby. And
so did you believe, so you started, what was that moment of like realization? Because now at that point it's still just words, right? Someone telling you something. But at some point you have to begin pouring bliss mode into what you can build online, right? So what did that learning look like? Because it had an effect. Your business grew from there.
Yeah.
So what did you learn along the way there?
The ceiling was lifted. So, of what I understood online coaching could be, I was like right here. After that meeting, there was basically no ceiling. It was like, this is endless. They even talked about like, when you grow, then you bring on an assistant coach. And I was like, what? and they talked about numbers of like, these are what big coaches in the US, these are what they're doing. And so as long as, for me, I needed to know what other people were doing. I need to know what's possible. Now that it's possible, and I know like Bliss Mode is special, and I know I'm a good coach, and you're telling me that this is what they're doing, okay, I'll do it.
It's on.
Yeah, it's game on.
And what did Game On lead to then? What did
Game
growth
On
look
led
like?
to, I left the office. This is July of 2022. And by August, we are skyrocketing. And we grew every single month for 2 years.
Wow.
Every single month. We had more and more clients.
That is growth.
Yeah.
So now, and this is what ultimately led to some of the numbers that
Yeah.
we're talking about in the start. You're growing month over month for quite a long time. And this also leads to both validation, I guess, that, Bliss Mode can work online.
Yeah.
Right? Did it kind of kill those doubts? Because at some point, I mean, when you grow for so long, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of clients coming through, and although I can see most of them are really happy with what you deliver, there'll always be those negative comments.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
There'll always be something where people don't match, whether it's in person or online. But you must have learned to deal with something at that point.
Yes. It's just like on social media, the first time you get like negative comments or whatever it is, you develop a thick skin and you learn that people are going to love you, people are going to hate you. The more people that love you, it means also the more people that are going to hate you. It's polarizing, right? And it's the same thing with online coaching. The bigger I grow and the more clients that are going to come in, I'm also going to bring in people that are not going to love the programming or have, I don't meet their expectations of what they thought this was going to do for them. So understanding that not to take that personally, and it has nothing to do with me, it has everything to do with them. And I understand that Bliss Mode's not for everybody, just like I can't be for everybody, just like there's people who, they're not for me.
Exactly.
And that's totally fine. And so you just like learn that. It's like there's a lot of mental and emotional growth that comes from, owning your own business and growing online. And kind of since those two things grew together, I had to grow a lot in the last couple of years.
What are the other aspects of growth that you kind of had to go through? Because it's quite a different premise.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here, right? You initially had 50 clients. Now, with that much growth, you have many more, and you have a team. So what does that force you to, which kind of growth did that force on you?
Every kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm such a people pleaser naturally. And I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to love me. I don't want conflict. And so growing with online as well, you have to learn that like you can't be everybody's cup of tea. And again, that has nothing to do with you. So that was an aspect. But the other part was the business side. You took a girl that had only been a trainer, had never had a real job, had never had an employee. And now, because I'm growing, I'm having to take on employees. I'm having to figure out back end stuff. I've never, what is marketing and how do, I own a business and operate the back end things, and how do I pay taxes now that I'm my business owner, right? So there's just so many elements that you kind of get thrown into. And the one thing I always tell people is you're never going to know how to do everything. You're going to have more things that you don't know how to do constantly than you probably do know how to do. And you just figure it out as you go.
And get support.
And get support. Yeah,
well,
thank
right?
God for Lenus and the team. I mean, they've really, that's one of the best things about the partnership is they taught me, like, this is how you get an employee. This is how you'll train them. This is how you bring them on. And a lot of times they're kind of doing it and letting me watch, and then I can kind of figure it out kind of deal. Because, yeah.
But that's also something to learn, right? Because like you mentioned in the start, there was doubt about, like, how do I make sure that what is Bliss Mode lives online?
Yeah.
And in building a team and outsourcing, you still need to have that sense of confidence that, what's being delivered is true.
Yes.
To what you want it to be, to your vision, to your approach. How did you secure that? Or what did that look like for you?
So how I personally do it is all of my entire staff were Bliss Mode clients first. And I have learned that that's the only way that I'm going to do things, because I've hired a few times outside of, the Bliss Mode pod. And I've realized it takes so much to teach somebody the philosophy and who Bliss Mode is, and the workout programs and the app and all of that. And you can't teach passion, but you get a client and you've transformed their life. They're the most passionate coach ever. And that's why I brag on my coaches, and our lifetime is the way that it is, because all of them have already been transformed from Bliss Mode in one way or multiple ways. And so now they are more than pumped to be on the front lines, to lead more people to having the same experience or a similar experience that they did.
That's amazing. So impact compiling. That's an interesting approach to it, because then you have people who really have it under their skin.
Yes.
You spoke about, or you mentioned just now, transforming people's lives. I think it's clear to me that in your time on the gym floor and what drove you to stay in group fitness and all that without being able to support yourself financially was somehow based on creating change in others.
Yeah.
Did you, when you moved more into an online space, how did you experience that like transformative part in others? Because that can be a bit tricky in the other situations. There's so many things which you have nothing to do with when you have clients physically. How did you experience that difference? Because suddenly the change is also a bit more because of you.
100%.
How did you experience that?
Yeah. So in person, you're with them for an hour a day, and you're only worried about their workout, right? You can give them advice on nutrition and sleep and all these things, but like you don't really have time, because the next class or the next client's coming in. So like you're giving them a 5-minute rundown real quick, but I don't know, and I don't remember the next time I see them to like what I had said, because I'm talking to hundreds of people a day, right? And so you're more so just focused on the workout. Online, now I'm giving you your entire nutrition, right? Because we're partnered with registered dietitians, so I'm able to build these meal plans, and I'm looking at your sleep and your steps, and I'm able to just look at your entire life and dissect everything. And so every single bit of progress is the work that you do, but it's from the guidance of me, which is really cool. And the other thing is too, is that at the gyms often would take credit for the transformation, right? I'm just the coach who led the class or whatever, but it's the gym that changed their life. But this is Bliss Mode, and my guidance and stuff. So it's, and my coaches. So it's just incredible.
That fuels the passion even more. I can
That I'm
see
like,
the
I
spark
know
in your
what I'm
eye when you say,
doing.
yeah, and being good at it.
Yeah.
Back to that whole story, right? Because now, it's quite a journey, right?
Yeah.
We're going from quitting one job, not going through college, trying to make ends meet, and now really building something large scale, successful, with huge impact, and that's positive. And what do you ever reflect upon like that? Often we do with these types of conversations, but is it something that you kind of think about yourself and actually see for what it is? How big of a journey that's been?
For sure. I mean, one of the things that I would say makes me think the most of just like gratitude of like where I'm at is I remember the one thing I wanted very simple luxuries back in the day of like being in the trenches of training. And one thing I really always hoped I could someday have, and I wrote it in a journal of like, in 5 years, I want to be able to do this, was to have a cup of coffee in the morning, to wake up and just like have the morning to myself. Because since I had been a trainer, all I knew was throwing down caffeine, loud music. It's 5 a.m. I'm yelling already. And I craved a quiet morning to myself and like to be with my dogs and just sip a cup of coffee, not chug it because I'm tired, but just enjoy it. And that's how every morning is for me. And I wake up, I make my coffee, I go sit on my porch, and I just constantly think, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe I finally got this luxury. It's not all the things that I thought I would, that would blow my mind. It's more of like the simple things that I remember craving,
Well, life is built up of the little things.
Yeah.
I believe, and there's so much joy that could come out of actually appreciating those, right?
Yeah.
And it's also quite a different mental space to be in. When you spoke earlier in your time in Hawaii about like what the goal was or what the dream was, it was just 5 pounds less.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and what good is and what actually fuels your cup is extremely different now. And you've managed to get to a point where you can actually secure that.
Yeah.
You made me think about something because now you're at a point where, and over the years, there's been thousands of people relying on you to give them something, right? That spark in their day, that energy, that bliss mode. Clients as well as a team, because you're leading a team.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? And what do you do to kind of recharge your batteries to be able to deliver in that way?
Yeah, I actually would say the team part, like the imposter syndrome there, was quite a hump to get over because it was kind of like, again, my dynamic shifted where I was good with clients. I got this down. I know this. And again, I had to have another thing that was leveling me up to go to the next thing that I don't know, that I'm not good at. And so that was very intimidating. Leading meetings, you know, I remember I would be like so nervous before the call and I'm trying to like, okay, you can do this, you know. And these are women who were clients previously. They love Bliss Mode. And I just felt nervous that I wasn't going to do a good job in leading them and giving them guidance. Or I knew what it was like to have a bad boss. And I was like determined, like I refuse to ever be that person, you know.
Right.
For any moment that anybody has ever worked with Bliss Mode, I want this to be something they look back on and they're like, that was the best job, you know. But yeah, to recharge my own cup, I'm a very simple person. You know, I love to be, you know, with my dog. I love to go to the beach. You know, just like very simple things. I'm very easy to please, but yeah, I think just having a little bit of me time, a compliment. I love a compliment. You know, a compliment will take me a long way. You know, so it's just simple things, I think.
Well, I'll tell you something. You've done an amazing job at letting us in and telling about your story.
Yeah, thank you.
In the end here, I'm kind of curious about just a glimpse into the future. You've had a couple of times you've looked into the crystal ball where it didn't look all that positive.
Yeah.
But I think it seems like you're in a very different mindset now.
Yeah.
So now when you look into the future, what are the things which you see ahead of you? What are you excited about?
Man, it's hard to even think of things getting better. And this is exactly how I felt when I was in the garage and there was Lenus was presented to me. I'm like, how could things get better than they are right now? So I'm definitely not the person who's constantly looking for the next best thing. I'm always very content with where I'm at. Even in the days of, you know, working 2 jobs and surviving, I was still content that I was getting to, even just for a few hours a day, do what I really love to do.
And sharpen that craft, I guess.
Yeah.
It seems.
And get to be that for people. Get to be the coach that was known as like being crazy and mean, but they loved her and it was so fun. So I would love to just continue to grow, you know, the impact, you know, and next time I see you, you read numbers that are 4x what they were today, you know. That's really what I just want to continue doing, is doing what I love in some capacity. And yeah.
And changing people's lives.
Changing people's lives, yeah. Letting more people get to know who Bliss Mode is and experience Bliss Mode. I couldn't ask for more than that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bliss, for sharing your story.
Yeah, of course. So fun.
All right, easy. Bliss, welcome to the treadmills.
Thank you very much.
Pads, technically.
Walking pad,
Little,
yes.
Walking pad. You're used to walking pads, right?
Yes. This is me every day.
That's you every day. We'll get our steps in. Well, what we're going to do here is a bit of a blind ranking. So you're going to rank from 1 to 10 a couple of different things on their effect or impact on people's health, happiness, and longevity.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's do the first one.
Okay.
We're talking about wearables and trackers.
I would give it a 6. I think that it's great to have the data as far as like steps go, you know, notifications to remind you to move. But as far as like calories burned in a workout, I think people put way too high of that on a pedestal.
Yeah.
They're very off. It is not accurate. And I just think that people, again, they'll see like if I had a good workout based on their calories burned and not truly on if they had a good workout or not. Right. So yeah, give it a 6.
6. So the next one, high intensity training.
I mean, I'm biased. I give it a 10.
Yeah, there we go.
I give it a 10.
Short explanation. Why?
Because it is the most bang for your buck, efficient style of training. I think low intensity has a purpose and it's great for a lot of people. But I think for people like myself who have a busy schedule, can't spend a lot of time in the gym, you can get a lot done with some HIIT.
Gotcha.
Paired with progressive overload.
Oh, of course. How about intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting, I would give that, I would give it a 7 if it works well with your lifestyle. I think that if you're using intermittent fasting as only a way to try to lose weight and it doesn't really go with your lifestyle very well, then it's unrealistic. It's not going to be maintainable. But if it's able to be maintainable for you, there's a lot of benefits to fasting and it can be great.
Gotcha. All right, last one, getting 10,000 steps a day.
I'm gonna give it a 10.
10.
10. I feel like everybody should be aiming just for more movement. And steps is something that's so easy to track. It's so easy to add in. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it's just one of the perfect ways to kind of measure your total movement for the day. So you should get a walking pad.
So get a walking pad and get it done.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna mix things up a little bit. So tell us a secret hobby that you have that potentially no one really knows about.
Oh, secret hobby? Gosh, I'm such a boring person. This is not going to be exciting. I would say that I love to play pickleball.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys play pickleball over here?
A bit,
okay.
actually.
Okay.
But there's a lot more, like, what's it called? Paddle
yes,
tennis.
I play that too. That's fun.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. A hidden talent that you have beyond pickleball.
A hidden talent? What would be a hidden talent? That's a great question. I would say I am really good at ping pong because I beat Daniel at ping pong today. So I would say that's a hidden talent.
We'll cut that one out. That's fine. All right, since you spend so many hours as a group trainer, tell me maybe an embarrassing moment from a class that you've had. Beyond what we spoke about in the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I've said people's names wrong very confidently, like called them the wrong name for weeks because they didn't correct me. And I'll be like, me calling you Bobby, and you just let it go. And then finally somebody tells me your name's not Bobby. That's always pretty embarrassing.
That's authority, right?
Or coaching multiple classes with something in your teeth and nobody tells you.
Gotcha.
I've done that too.
I've been there as well. Okay, last one. What's that one song these days that, you'll put it on and it'll get you through any workout?
Oh, I have a lot.
What's on the top shelf?
The top shelf? I mean, Eminem, any song will get me through a good workout. But yeah, I would say
good stuff.
That'll be who I go to for sure.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Good fun.